Hey everybody, it's Fearless Gamer Girl here, and today I'll be talking about 2027 is going to be insane for PS5 games. 2027 is already shaping up to be a massive year for gaming, from legendary franchises making their return to brand new scary experiences, enormous RPGs, remakes, sequels, and some games that players have been waiting years to see. The lineup is getting stacked. Some of these games already have release dates, others only have release windows, and because delays happen all the time in gaming, nothing is truly guaranteed until a game actually launches. But based on what has been announced, here are 20 major games currently expected in 2027. Let's get into it. Number 1. Stranger Than Heaven. Starting things off is Stranger Than Heaven, currently set to release on January 15th. This game takes players into a story connected to the world of the Yakuza series, but instead of staying in one period, the story stretches across 5 different decades. Each decade features a city designed around real-world locations and the time period being represented. That means the environment can change dramatically as the years move forward. But that's not even the strangest part. Snoop Dogg is involved in the game, and somehow the likeness of Tupac is also featured. If you're familiar with how unpredictable this series can become, that probably tells you exactly what kind of ride this could be. Number 2. Metro 2039. Next is Metro 2039. After Metro Exodus opened things up with larger areas to explore, Metro 2039 appears to be moving back toward a more focused experience. The game is aiming for a more linear first-person shooter style similar to earlier Metro games. This time, players control the series' first voiced protagonist. The character once promised never to return to the Metro, but circumstances force them underground again. A powerful regime now controls the Metro with an iron fist, setting up another dark story of survival beneath the surface. The Metro series has always been known for its atmosphere, and the visuals shown for this game are pushing that even further. Metro 2039 is currently expected in February 2027. Number 3. Tomb Raider: Legacy of Atlantis. Tomb Raider: Legacy of Atlantis is currently scheduled for February 12th after moving out of 2026. This is a complete remake of Lara Croft's original adventure. That means classic Tomb Raider locations, exploration, puzzles, danger, and yes, even the famous T-Rex encounter are coming back with modern technology. Instead of simply improving the graphics of the original, the project is designed as a full remake. It also has another important job. Legacy of Atlantis will help set up the next major Tomb Raider game, Catalyst. Catalyst was previously expected sooner, but has now been pushed into 2028, so Legacy of Atlantis should give Tomb Raider fans something substantial while they wait. Number 4. God of War: Laufey. A new God of War game is also expected in 2027. God of War. Life follows Kratos' wife as she enters the afterlife of the gods. What's especially interesting is when the story takes place. The events reportedly run alongside the story of God of War from 2018. The concept could give players another perspective on events that help shape Kratos and Atreus' journey. But there's an even bigger idea behind it. The game explores an afterlife where gods from different mythologies can exist together. Considering how many mythologies the God of War universe has already explored, that could open the door to some incredible environments and characters. God of War is currently set for February 16th. Number 5. Persona 4 Revival. Next is Persona 4 Revival. Following the return of Persona 3, another classic Persona game is receiving the remake treatment. The original Persona 4 arrived in the late 2000s, and Revival is bringing major improvements to its visuals, user interface, battles, and events. The basic concept remains fascinating. Players move between the normal world and a mysterious world inside televisions, while investigating a series of mysteries. But fighting monsters is only part of the experience. You also have jobs, friendships, and relationships to manage. Those human connections directly affect your character's abilities. Persona 4. Revival is currently scheduled for February 18th. Number 5. Fable. Fable is currently scheduled to arrive on PlayStation 5 on February 23rd. This reboot brings back the fantasy RPG series with a world where reputation matters. Your decisions and interactions can influence how characters throughout the world see you, and those opinions can change what becomes available to you. The game combines traditional fantasy environments with a playful sense of humor. It isn't trying to create a completely serious medieval world. Instead, Fable mixes adventure with ridiculous characters, strange situations, and a fantasy world that reacts to the player. Number 6. Exodus. Moving into science fiction, we have Exodus. This action RPG puts players in control of a salvager who becomes a traveler and heads into space on a mission connected to saving humanity. But there's a major problem. Time doesn't move normally. Because of time dilation, traveling across space can cause huge amounts of time to pass elsewhere. That means when the character eventually returns, they can witness the future they were originally trying to save. Players will explore alien worlds, travel with companions, and eventually face the Celestials. Exodus is currently targeting early 2027. Number 7. Until Dawn 2. Until Dawn 2 is also expected in 2027. This time, the story follows a group of ghost hunting YouTubers. They travel to a haunted island hoping to film something that could become their next viral hit. Naturally, things go horribly wrong. Like the original Until Dawn, player decisions can determine who survives and who doesn't. That means one choice could completely change what happens later in the story. Supermassive Games is no longer developing the property. Instead, Firesprite is taking over development for this sequel. Number 8. The Lost Wild. If being trapped on a haunted island isn't enough, The Lost Wild adds dinosaurs. This is an evasion-based survival horror game where players are hunted by intelligent dinosaurs, and these creatures aren't supposed to behave like simple video game enemies. They're designed to act more like wild animals. They can hunt, they can work in packs, and players aren't necessarily supposed to charge directly into battle with them. You play as Saskia, who wakes up on a mysterious island. To escape, she must explore abandoned facilities while surviving the creatures hunting her. It's basically survival horror with dinosaurs that behave like actual predators. L, another horror game pushed from 2026 into 2027, is L. This is a realistic first-person horror experience with extremely detailed graphics, but its visuals aren't the only thing designed to make players uncomfortable. The game features a brutal physics system that makes combat extremely graphic. The enemies themselves are also intentionally disturbing. The developers have pointed toward horror movies as inspiration, including films such as Longlegs. The combination of realistic visuals, disturbing enemy designs, and intense combat could make this one of 2027's nastier horror experiences. Resident Evil Veronica. Resident Evil is going back into its past again. The next remake focuses on Code Veronica, now titled Resident Evil Veronica. The original game arrived in 2000 and has become one of the major classic Resident Evil entries still waiting for a modern remake. This new version is being treated as a major reimagining. Expect modernized gameplay, a reworked storyline, and significantly upgraded visuals. The goal is to modernize the experience without losing what made the original memorable. With the success of previous Resident Evil remakes, expectations for Veronica will be extremely high. Crazy Taxi World Tour. Crazy Taxi World Tour isn't simply a remake of the old Crazy Taxi, it's a new adventure. Axel is chasing a mysterious masked villain who stole his beloved taxi. Yes, someone stole his taxi, and apparently that is enough to start an entire adventure. Players will hit ramps, pull off wild drifts, and earn money by completing ridiculous missions. Multiplayer is also included. The biggest question will be whether World Tour can capture the fast, chaotic energy that made the original Crazy Taxi so memorable. Final Fantasy VII Revelation. One of the biggest RPG releases expected in 2027 is Final Fantasy VII Revelation. This is planned as the conclusion to Square Enix's massive Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. The battle against Sephiroth is reaching its final stage. Cloud and the rest of the group will have to face the chaos surrounding them and ultimately decide the fate of the planet. After Remake and Rebirth dramatically expanded the original Final Fantasy VII story, Revelation has a lot to bring together. It's currently expected in spring 2027. Lords of the Fallen 2. Lords of the Fallen 2 was another game originally expected earlier before moving into 2027. Despite the title, this is actually the third game in the Souls-like series. One of the franchise's biggest mechanics involves two worlds existing over each other. Players can move between the world of the living and the world of the dead. The sequel takes place roughly 100 years after the previous game and moves the story into a different region. The developers are also aiming to improve areas such as boss battles and player builds using feedback from the previous game. Senua. Ninja Theory is returning with another standalone adventure in the Hellblade universe. Senua continues a series known for extremely cinematic storytelling, impressive visuals, and detailed sound design. The earlier games placed a huge focus on creating an immersive psychological experience. This new entry may increase the gameplay side of things. Information surrounding the game has mentioned tactical combat, suggesting battles could become more involved than before. For players who enjoy shorter, highly cinematic games, Senua could be one to watch. Number 14. Songs of the Past. Here's something that probably wasn't expected. The Witcher 3 is receiving new content in 2027. The expansion is called Songs of the Past. There currently isn't a huge amount of information available, but its existence is notable by itself. The Witcher 3 originally released back in 2015, and its Blood and Wine expansion arrived in 2016. More than a decade later, the game is getting another major piece of content. It could also help bridge the gap while players wait for The Witcher 4. The Wolf Among Us 2. Some games take a long time to arrive, and then there's The Wolf Among Us 2. The game was announced all the way back in 2017. Since then, the project has gone through cancellations, revivals, and delays, but it's currently expected to finally arrive in 2027. The series takes familiar fairy tale characters and completely changes them. Characters such as Snow White and the Big Bad Wolf exist in a gritty neon noir world. Players control Sheriff Bigby Wolf as he investigates violent crimes and murders. After such an enormous wait, 2027 could finally be the year this sequel arrives. Wulong 2: Wings of Ember. Wulong 2: Wings of Ember is expected in early 2027. The Souls-like action RPG sequel comes from Team Ninja, the studio associated with games such as Nioh and Ninja Gaiden. Following Fallen Dynasty, players return to the Three Kingdoms. This time they'll battle enemies while using the power of the Phoenix. There still isn't a huge amount of information available, so plenty remains unknown. But anyone who enjoyed the fast combat of the previous game should keep this one on the radar. The Expanse, Osiris Reborn. The Expanse, Osiris Reborn is a large RPG based on the universe of The Expanse. The game is aiming for the feeling of a classic space RPG while using locations, characters, and lore from the books and television series. That means exploring a detailed science fiction universe while making choices and interacting with its characters. The game is being developed by Owlcat Games, a studio previously known for major RPG and strategy projects. Osiris Reborn is currently expected during the second quarter of 2027. Ontos. And finally, there's Ontos. This is the latest project from Frictional Games, the studio behind Soma. Ontos is another single-player science fiction narrative experience. The story follows Aditi as she travels to Samsara, a repurposed hotel located on the moon, but something is clearly wrong there. The location appears to be connected to disturbing experiments, and the game's description points toward a story dealing with the nature of existence itself. Considering the kind of psychological and existential ideas explored in Soma, Ontos could become much more than a traditional horror game. It's currently scheduled for 2027. And those are 20 major games currently expected to arrive in 2027. There are huge remakes like Resident Evil Veronica and Tomb Raider, Legacy of Atlantis. Massive RPGs like Final Fantasy VII Revelation, Exodus, and Fable. Horror experiences like The Lost Wild, L, and Ontos. And long-awaited releases like The Wolf Among Us 2. Of course, release schedules can change. Some of these games have already been delayed before, and there's always a chance they'll move again. At the same time, many games planned for 2027 probably haven't even been announced yet. That means this lineup could become much bigger as we get closer to release. But even with only the games currently revealed, 2027 is already looking absolutely packed. The only question is, which one are you playing first?